All right, guys, well, welcome back to the shop. In the last few videos I've done on my Beaver Patriot Thunder, I did say there's 2 more upgrades I want to do on it, and today I have a little bit of a lull waiting for parts, and I figured I'd get at least one of them done that I thought would be kind of interesting to do together. Now, if you follow along on the upgrades I've been doing on it, you know that did a keyless entry. Originally, these doors did come with power door locks from Beaver when they were built. You can see the actuator right in there. And all I did was add a keyless module in order to operate them. And having power door locks with the key fob has been great, but strangely enough, Beaver never put a power door lock on the front door, which is probably the most important one to put on. And I find it very frustrating to have to use the deadbolt key every single time. So if you remember, I put the keyless entry module down in this mess underneath here. I don't know, with a whole bunch of relays. We figured it all out, but it's down in there. Now, what I really didn't show you guys was another upgrade that I did. Was because I had an extra one of these keyless entry pads. I installed this and wired it up to that keyless entry system that came with the Beaver, and goes to the door lock on the dash. Now, when I did that, I had to run a harness basically from that center console over here to where the keypad was, and I future-proofed it by running an extra harness of 2 wires so that I could install an actuator on the front door lock right here, like Monaco and Beaver did just a year later. Now, I have taken the door apart and I've tried to map out what I think will work, and using my knowledge about how, again, Monaco, Beaver, and all modern manufacturers connect an actuator to that rod right there. But this door was never intended to have a power door lock on it, but I really want one. So the first thing I have to do is take this door apart, and any of these PTL doors, PTL engineering, that have this deadbolt on there, there's the first thing I'll always do before I take it apart is I'm going to tape this side of the deadbolt on. Not that it's a huge deal, because I'm tearing the door apart anyways, but if you are tearing the door apart, it's usually a pain to try to feed this side on and keep it straight. This aluminum metal tape, real duct tape, does a much better job holding it and doesn't leave a lot of residue like duct tape normally would. But I have used duct tape for this operation too. There we go. That should hold that in place now, and of course we can see the little bit of checking that does exist on my Beaver. That's really the only checking that exists on this one. It's even hard to see. So the next thing we're going to do is just go ahead and extend the deadbolt out right about to there to kind of hold it in place too. So we aren't going to be affecting the deadbolt. And lining all that linkages up is always a pain. All right, now just remove the beauty cover on my door handle. This one's getting a little bit brittle. Might be time to change it out too. And this is where it might change up for your doors. I have this entire panel that has to be removed. Some will just have a section right about here. Just take these caps off and take the screws out. Now, PTL is still in business and they are still making doors for most of these luxury RVs out there. I think Winnebago might still be using Atwood, but I don't know for sure. A lot of the older Winnebagos will have an Atwood door on them though. They're not going to be quite as easy to retrofit. Even though it's not really part of what we're doing here, right here is the cable for the posi lock. The posi lock, which is in right there, it locks the arm up on top, and there's a cable that goes all the way to that lock on top. So if that ever gets loose, that's probably why your posi lock isn't disengaging. You have to operate the handle right there in order to pull the cable to unlock it up there. So likely down here those screws are just loose. Now, when I initially decided to do this, I was just going to hook onto the back side of this plunger right there. That's how Monaco usually does it. There's a hole that accepts a linkage on here, but I didn't have anywhere to mount it over here, so that's going to be a lot more difficult. And also the one I wanted to use is being used by that linkage anyways. Now this linkage right there, its whole job is to pull and push this locking mechanism that goes to the cam for the handle lock. So if I were to lock it, the striker up there, you can see that we're not actually engaging that handle right there until I do that, and now it's unlocked. Now you'll have to indulge me just a little bit. I don't know if you can see my handle is stuck out. This has been quite annoying for me too. That handle gets stuck, and I need to fix that real fast. It looks like it's this linkage right down there. It's just a little bit bent up, and it gets stuck in between. So let me just go ahead and take care of that real fast. On these handles from Trimark, this bracket right here, what is that? Is what squeezes the handle against the door. It's just a 7/16 nut. Normally you don't have to adjust any of this, but extend or shorten this linkage right there. Not very often do you have to do that, but I think just 20 some odd years of use, and this is bent somewhat. So the first thing I'm going to do is just disconnect this linkage right here. Same from Automotive World, just kind of like spring it over and pull the linkage out right there. Don't lose that. Same with this one down there. This one's a little bit smaller. It just goes through both sides, and when it springs against the rod, it holds everything in place. Always take a picture of this before you take them apart though. Now, because I have it off and I have a vise, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the vise right on this arm right there. It's going to be important to put some back pressure on this, because this is just cast like pot metal, aluminum, and if we were to try to bend on that, it'll probably break, because this linkage right here is steel. I don't know if you guys can kind of see how it's bent. It's bent a little bit too much, so now I should just be able to bend it straight just like that. Simple. And then because I do have it out, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up that rivet just a little bit, so we get rid of a little bit more of that wobble right there. So yeah, it doesn't seem like much, but it's a lot better now, a little bit tighter. But we still want that to be free floating, so we don't want to make that too tight. Alright, I appreciate you guys indulging me on that. I'll put this back together. Put the gasket back on. You guys remember, was this up or was that down? Were you paying attention? Right, that thing back out again. Okay. Hey, it's not sticking. So now, it's not sticking out. I was getting quite frustrating getting in and out of the RV. You guys remember that little arm or tab was getting wedged right about there. Now it's not doing that. All right, so with that part alleviated and out of the way, now we can get back to putting the actuator in. Now we need to find a way to operate and manipulate this linkage right there, because that's unlocked and that's locked. Now what I will do is show you guys the back side of this, which of course was my original plan. You can see there are two spots for linkages. It's using the big one right here at the lock and unlock, and then usually most manufacturers use the other one to hook the actuator up to make this plunger go back and forth, or toggle back and forth. And because this has to move the entire way, I can't just drill a hole right there or anywhere else. And while I could theoretically move this to these holes over there, I do have this panel on the door that would all have to be repositioned, and I don't want to make a whole new panel. And whether I use the flat Trimark actuator or the universal actuator right here, there's really no place to install it because there's a steel framing in the middle of the door right there, so that still doesn't help me out at all. So I need to figure out a place to mount this here and still be able to operate this linkage down there. Now Trimark actually does make a lock that has a linkage on it to accept an actuator. I don't happen to have that one, and I don't want to buy a whole new lock because of this, but because I do like to hoard parts and I like to make things out of trash. I have this Trimark handle. I think it probably came off of a Tiffin. That's pretty indicative of a Tiffin door. Look at this, it's got this cool dual linkage on it that I think will solve my purpose. Now the problem, first and foremost, is that this is a press fit, so I can take this one off, and this one I have a C-clip or an E-clip, so I might be able to just do a quick swap. I don't know if this is going to fit this though until I take everything apart. So then the first thing for me to do is grind this off. Like I said, it's press fit, and this is kind of really important because if this doesn't work, I don't know what I'm doing. Got it. Now the next thing for me to do, this one's gonna work. So I'll just go ahead and disconnect that linkage. But this clip, we're just going to slide out of the way. And there we go. There's the old one with the clip. You guys remember what it looked like? Was it like this? All right. All right, looks like that's gonna work. So problem averted. Now that we got that situated, I can put this linkage back on. That was the hard part. That wasn't the hard part. I think ideally I'd like to use one of these higher quality flat actuators. And looks like I got a place to mount it. So I just have to come up the place. Let's see. No holes right there that everything lines up to, so I don't think. No, that doesn't line up. That doesn't line up. All right. I don't know. Let's see. All right. I think that'll actually work like that. Okay. We're gonna get this. All right. So if I measure this out, looks to be about, I don't know, about 1 1/8 is what it looks like. Close it up. Be about 1 1/8 inches. Needs to be right about there. Okay, so it looks like 1 1/8 is going to be the length of the jigger. These kits that I get come with a lot of these rods. I'm going to mock one of these up about 1 1/8, but then with a hook on the end, so I can engage that right there. See if that. Because I always have a lot of extra parts. I do have some of these linkages for compartment door rods. That's what I've mocked up so far. I just bent this rod into a simple hook, put that linkage on there, and it's not cut to fit yet, but and push and pull that. It'd be a lot easier if it wasn't so long, but it looks like that's gonna work. Now I just need to measure about 1 1/8 inches to this point, bend it, and hopefully it all works. Now, if there's one thing you should know about me, I do not have the patience for exactitude and measurement. So I'm gonna go a little bit long on this because I have an extra one. I'll just use our inner jeweler. On my mark, and I'm just going to bend it over. That's simple. Now, some people might be upset what I'm going to do next, but they're my tools. This one's already worn out, so I'm just going to cut it to length right about there. That's it. So we have that fed through or captured by the actuator here. And I just have to clip it in place. And now I think I wanted it like that. I think, right? I didn't like it like, wait, was that better? Maybe that's better. Is that better? So that's all the way down, so that's all the way extended right there. Now if we lock, unlock, lock, unlock. So it seems like that's gonna work. I just need to make a mark there, there, and there where I'm gonna mark the actuator, right? So I just have a drill bit right there. Just set this all up again. Right there. Now this is the other side of the door. We don't want to drill through that at all. I will put that so I don't drill all the way through. Oh yeah. We're good. I'll just be using some self-tapping screws to hold this on. Normally, a manufacturer will use through bolts with tiny little machine screw bolts. And if you didn't have this plate right here, there are some things you could do. Now, I just happen to have this old Integra door here. This compartment door. You can see why it got replaced. But it did have a power door lock actuator on it, and there's just this aluminum bracket that's being used to mount this actuator on it. So you can make something up like that. Newmar uses something similar. But all you'd be doing is looking to make some sort of a bracket that you can mount into the framing there, or the framing down there, that you could mount this actuator to. I just really lucked out on that. And now the next thing I'm going to do, because I'm not through bolting it, I'm using screws. I don't want the screws to grab onto the plastic of the actuator itself. So I'm going to drill those out too. So now that screw's not grabbing onto the plastic at all. Go ahead and get this mounted. But one more thing, if you didn't have these clips right there, you could still do the exact same thing I'm doing. A lot of times manufacturers will put a double bend in. It's gonna be okay. And then this was the old linkage. When you feed it in right there, it would get captured. You just have to shorten it up quite a bit. It'd be easier on a vise, but you can also do a double bend just like that instead of using that clip. All right, well, there's one. Let me get the other three installed. All right, so with two of them in, I think the next step is to actually test this thing out. I'm just gonna go ahead and use a battery right here. It's just a simple DC motor. Reverse polarity, change the direction of it. See if get it right the first time. Got it wrong. That worked. Test setup. I'm just too lazy. That seems to work. Make sure the key works. Alright, so that should be locked. That unlocking. So it should be unlocked. It unlocked. Alright, let me see. That's locked. Didn't unlock. That's unlocked. You guys might be asking what screws I'm using. These are just pretty standard RV square-headed screws. These are about 1.5 inches in length. They are sticking out a little bit on the back side, but not completely, so I don't need to modify them at all. Kind of see we got a good 1/8 of an inch clearance. All right, and it unlocks. We're good. Now we just have to run wire from here to inside the door. And of course, all joking aside, this is probably what I'm most concerned about. Now the nice thing about this door, like I talked about, this entire panel is covering up this entire section right here. While there is framing right there, I can feel that it's very hollow right there. That means I can probably cut in some access holes right here for running wires a little bit easier. That's my big hope. I don't want to go up any, but I do need to get into the door jamb here. And while the hinge is there, I don't really want to go through an extra set of wiring or metal if I don't have to. So I'm going to try to aim to this area right here. So let me go ahead and get you guys set up. We'll try to find a place to run some wire. I don't really want to cut holes in my beautiful door. I have been putting this off for a while. So let's go ahead and explore the innards of my entry door. I said right there, there's nothing. I think there's a cross member right there, and I'm trying to aim right about here. So I can easily drill a hole through here to get wiring through and a hole through there to get wiring through. Getting wiring into the door jamb right there is going to be a lot more effort. And the whole reason why I did it this way was because I got something to put in the door jamb right there. This is going to be some spring-loaded contacts you're going to find on most RVs with power door locks. I just picked these up. They had spade connections on the backside. They are spring-loaded. So the contacts are going to go right in the door right about there on the door jamb. And then these will drill a hole through the door jamb, through the opening of the wall, and then hopefully the wiring's right about there that I left for it. And then when the door closes, like I said, these are spring loaded, so those retract out of the way and they make a pretty decent connection. Just like that, allows the door to close. So that's, like I said, this is the scariest part, and these are not an uncommon part to wear out. But I was able to procure these from the online store, and I just have to measure out where they're going to go. Just be right about there. Now this kit does come with the stick-on template, so I can just go ahead and lay out where they're going to be, and tells me what size holes to drill, even though I think that's metric, so that doesn't help me out at all. But it gives me a good profile. Now everybody's door is going to be different. I can see this is where the factory mounted the door into the framing. So if I look underneath, you can see those self-tapping screws right there. So if I just go inboard a little bit from those, we should be perfect. If we look right up here, those wires right there is what I already ran for the entry door lock a while ago. So I'm really hoping that past James did me a great solid and the whole system works. So I went ahead and I put it right about there, which is just a little bit inboard of those self-tappers I was pointing out. Now because there has to be a gap at the bottom right here, I'm going to measure off the bottom of the hinge. So it looks to be about 24.5 to the middle of that, or 24 to the middle. So if I go down there, I can measure to the bottom of that hinge and just transfer the wire measurement over to this side here. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and start all of them with a pilot hole. All right, and then for the rest of the holes, I'm going to use a brand new unibit right here, or step bit. As I find they drill through metal much better than a twist bit that's 1/2 inch thick. At least that's 100% been my experience. Just a few more to go. Right, that's a lot better. Okay, we're looking great, guys. Well, you may not be able to see it. I can see the wiring for the keypad in there. So I should be able to feed the 2 wires through here. I don't know which was going to be right, so we'll just hook up the wires at this point. And then if we need to reverse the polarity, we'll reverse polarity at the actuator itself. Once I drill holes through there and through there, I can put wires through it. Oh yeah, this is all gonna work. I'll just be using the white and brown of my all-purpose trailer wire. It's about 14 gauge. And because I'm putting this out there for the world to see, I'll just use some 3/8 inch loom. Alright, now I'll just go ahead and get the wire down here. I just got spade connectors right here, so I guess 2 spade connectors will call it good. Okay, put these on. Now, of course, those contacts do come with their own little screws, but I don't trust these to save my life. All they're going to do is strip out and break off and then cause me a headache. So I just have some nice tapered self-tappers. I almost have a modern RV front door. Now, because there's a good chance I'm going to wire this backwards, I'm just going to go ahead and use these lever lock nuts, the Wagos. I'm a big fan of them. Didn't think I'd like them, but it's so much easier when you're mocking things up. One on, I don't know. That way, if I need to reverse the polarity, I don't have to take anything apart. Done. Now, even though we follow the template and the spring-loaded contacts are going to fit okay, it's going to be difficult for me to feed the wires in. So I'm just going ahead and use a metal cutting oscillating blade. Just like that, and I'll do the same thing through the opening back there. Alright, now I should be able to fish the wires easily. Alright, so there's my wiring. There's should go to the actuator, and then right over here you should hopefully be able to see. Alright, so you got my fish tape right there. I'll just tape it to there and pull it through. Oh my goodness, almost the perfect amount of slack. Now again, we're just doing spade connections because that's what goes on the back. And while it may not be completely necessary, these are heat shrink connectors, so I might as well shrink them up, right? Alright, that's good enough. We'll put our, I guess, our gasket back on. I don't know. I've always seen these things fall apart because people leave the door open and rubber doesn't do very well in the sun. But that'll be down the road. Let me just plug these in. Okay, make sure those are on the spade connection correction. Go ahead and push that back. I do like to make sure these tabs, the bent side is a side that's going to be making contact, so that they, I don't know, it doesn't open it up as you're closing the door. 2. Now before we slam the door, make sure those operate freely, they don't bind up. Okay. I guess go ahead and close the door. That looks like it's making contact with those pads. Making contact with those pads. Now, I didn't do a test on it, but let's see if it does anything. It's locked. It's unlocked. So that's locked. Won't open. It's unlocked. Guys, I think it works. I was going to do a test run on it. Make sure I had power coming through those contacts, but I don't need to. And I got the polarity right. So it's locked when that actuator or that plunger goes out. Hit the lock button. Oh, dummy. You can't do that with the door open because the contacts aren't there. Ah, heat's getting to me. Okay, door shut. Hit the lock button. It locked. Hit the unlock button. It unlocked. Lock. Unlock. Now, of course, I just have to put the door back together, tie up the wiring underneath, but I think this is done. And then we're down to just one more upgrade that I really want to take you guys through. But I think I have a half upgrade that I'm going to do next, even though it's the middle of the summer. But let me get all this cleaned up and I'll have a few more thoughts for you, because on some level, this is fun, but it could be a waste of time. Was this worth it to me? It was. I really hated using the key to lock and unlock the door, as stupid as that sounds, especially when I had the keyless entry right here, so I didn't have to hold the keys outside, because I could get access to the compartment doors with the keyless entry, just not with the front door, which is more important. Now, if I had not been so lucky to have found that linkage off of an old lock, I don't know if I would have recommended doing this job to a lot of people, because you would have had to buy a whole new lock from Trimark. That could be about $300 for that. There's a nice Trimark actuator. These generic ones you can pick up in a kit. They're like $14 a piece, so that's not too inexpensive, or too expensive. And even these contacts right there, I think they're about $20. So between the contacts, the wire, the actuator, I really don't have even close to $100 into this, because that was free, $20 in the wire. So really, I have about $20 into this. Now, I'm probably wrong, but I'm sure they make a aftermarket handle for this now. That's just going to be a wireless key fob with it that just takes a AA battery or two, and it'd just be a simple swap out. But I don't know. I still like this option. This is so much better than having to use the key. And because I can do this, now, don't look at my code. I don't have to carry the keys with me if I go to the pool or outside for a run. I would still strongly recommend everybody have some hidden keys somewhere on the exterior of the RV, just in case there's a problem with it. And yes, I will put a link to all the things that I did use. That wasn't much. It's just really going to be that thing right there, and maybe an actuator. I'm going to leave you guys with this right now, because I'm pretty pleased with the way it turned out. The middle of summer has been pretty rough on me. I have a couple more projects that I still have to get knocked out. But as far as my shop goes, every time I've been ordering parts, they've been taking a lot longer than they're supposed to take, and then I don't have everything I need. So a few more projects, hopefully summer stops, and then we can get to a lot more fun projects that I've been meaning to get done. I just haven't been able to because of my schedule. It'll happen eventually. But that was a fun upgrade, guys. I hope I inspired some people to upgrade their RV. It wasn't that difficult of a job. Filming it makes it a little bit more difficult. The parts, like I said, maybe $100 in parts, unless you have to get a whole new latch from Trimark, but it is a possibility. It's frustrating that Beaver didn't install that power door lock from the get-go. I don't know why you have power door compartment door locks, but not a power entry door lock. And the most frustrating part to me is you guys just saw how easy it is for a non-engineer, non-factory to install power door locks on an entry door. There's kind of no excuse for the manufacturer not to put it in at the time of making an RV. Maybe $40 in parts. I don't understand the upgrade cost. You shouldn't have to spend $600,000 on a RV to get that feature either. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'm tired. Bye. Well, I am quite sad to say it doesn't work. That changes everything that I planned on doing. Looks like it doesn't really look like it. They're the same size, right? Are they? A little bit smaller. All right, let me try something out real quick. I think I'm not doing this right. because these do look like the same size. So I think it's gonna work. I'm just not using the key. Hope now everybody understands why I made 2 holes over here. If this cross brace wasn't going down, I wouldn't have worried about it, but you know, it is. I think my favorite thing about that is the confidence in which I just said that. And then I just looked down under here. There's no cross member. So I could have just gone straight down over to here. I didn't need to drill through there. But I didn't know that. I just assumed that would have gone down. Why wouldn't you just assume that? I guess don't make that assumption like I did. I think we can try that cool hack people always use. Feed a wrench through there. Put it in there and then start pulling the wire through the loom. I guess it works. Oh my goodness, almost the perfect amount of slack. Thoroughly modern.